Yes. Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you so much, and I'm embarrassed. I have to start out with a mea culpa. I came here and I had great expectations for some new remarks that I'd been writing. I'm going to talk to you today about a topic that we're all interested in, and that's ourselves, how to make ourselves better. And I'd been working on these new remarks, and I had worked and worked and worked and put so much time into it, but they weren't feeling right. They just weren't hanging together. I wasn't getting the transitions right, the whole thing. So last night, because they were fairly new ground for me. Last night I'm standing here in this hotel in the bathroom practicing in front of the mirror, and I just wasn't feeling it. But I thought, what am I going to do? Because I'm going to be speaking tomorrow, and it's my responsibility as a speaker to make sure that I deliver the goods for the audience. And I don't know if y'all believe in signs from the universe or not, but I'm finishing speaking, and I go to turn around, and as I did, all of my note cards with all of my carefully typed numbered letters and points that I want to make fell into the toilet. So I'm thinking, okay, I thought it was a piece of crap, but evidently the universe does too. So I thought, all right, so now what am I going to do? I go back into the bedroom and like so many of us, when we just want to engage in some mindless activity, I picked up my BlackBerry and I started scrolling through there. And I had an email from a young woman that I'd mentored for a number of years when I was with Intercontinental. And I had sent her a copy of my remarks and saying, okay, you're younger generation, that's a lot of people I'm going to be talking to tomorrow, so give me some feedback. And so she sent me this really wonderful email. And it was like, wow, this is really good. And I thought, okay, well, that's kind of damning praise. And she said, but a couple of comments. And then it went on and on and on and on. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I can tell it was really, really good. And so what she mentioned to me in that email is really what I'm going to talk to you about today, because I thought it's something that we've probably all thought about, no matter what stage we are in our life and our careers. And I think it's going to resonate with you. How many times have we thought to ourselves, I need a mentor. I want a mentor. I even heard somebody say that today. One of our speakers here today who is transitioning into a different time in her life, and she said, you know, I really would like to find a mentor. And I have been asked many times over the years, because as you get more successful and as you have more visibility in your career, a lot of people turn to you, and especially if you're a female executive, because unfortunately they're still sort of in the minority. And so you get a lot of young people who come to you and say, I need a mentor. How can I get a mentor? How do I find a mentor? And then how do I get them to work with me? How do I get them to say, okay, I will be your mentor? So as I started thinking about it last night and thinking about what can I say that really is new and meaningful on that topic, I started thinking about my own professional life and my personal life and the mentors that I've had. Because I think if we think about it, most of us have had more than one mentor in our life. We're sort of serial mentees, maybe. And I thought about my very first mentor, and at the time she was my very first mentor, I wasn't thinking about her that way. This woman was mean as a snake. She was my very first boss in the hotel industry, and she was just mean. And people just kind of steered clear of her because she could strike unexpectedly, just like that. You never knew when it was going to happen, and man, she had venom that you just felt like you were going to be crippled for life if you got stung by that. But she was a really, really smart woman, and she was very focused on excellence. Excellence in the product that we delivered, the service that we delivered, and I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot about what to do, how to set the bar for myself, and how to get it from the people that I worked with. And then I learned, and I think this is really important when we're thinking about mentoring, I learned a lot about what not to do too. And I think as leaders, we're always looking for ways that we can be more effective. And you learn a lot by adversity, and you learn about doing things maybe that you don't want to do again. And so a lot of the lessons that I learned from her really stuck with me throughout the 36 years that I was in the hotel industry. And I started out as a sales secretary in a single hotel in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And over the course of my 36 years in the industry, kind of rose through the ranks and ended up as a senior vice president of corporate affairs for one of the largest hotel companies in the world. And as I said earlier, lots of people would come to me and say, I want to find a mentor. How do I find a mentor? And you know what? It's really, are y'all familiar? Well, I should ask this, and it doesn't matter if you're married or not, because we all see these things on TV all the time. Are you familiar with the dating sites like eHarmony and Match.com and all that kind of stuff? And I mean, you're just inundated with them. Well, to me, finding a mentor is sort of like finding someone that you want to have a relationship with, because that's really what it's all about. But it isn't necessarily asking that person to make a lifetime commitment to you. You know, I think it's more like, and I'm not vouching for any of these services, but I've also heard of the one called It's Just Lunch. You know? And I think when you think about mentors, it's kind of like, it's just lunch. You don't have to go in and say to somebody, Mr. Jones, I'd like to ask you if you would be my mentor, because when you do it sort of in a structured way like that, it's real easy to fall into role playing. This is the teacher, this is the student. And I don't think that necessarily works. For me, my most successful mentoring-mentee relationships have been in just sort of a symbiotic learning relationship. This young woman that sent me the email last night, we never had a formal mentoring relationship, but she counts me as one of her most influential professional mentors. But now, years later, I've learned from her, and I learned a great lesson last night, and I can't wait to get back to Atlanta and share that with her, because she taught me something, and I really listened to that. And the best mentoring relationships are when you have that give and take, and you're both sharing, you're both learning. So I think when you think about finding a mentor, it's just like looking for a mate, the perfect mate. You want to find somebody who has the characteristics that you like, that you feel comfortable with. You want to find the person who has what you want. But I don't think you always necessarily have to ask them to make a lifetime commitment. Because I'll tell you one thing too. Most people want mentors who are successful in whatever endeavor they are looking at, whether it's professional sports, maybe it's parenting mentors or whatever. Really successful people are busy people. And so if you go in and ask for a big time commitment, you know, chances are you're going to get a little bit of resistance. But if it's just lunch, and if you just ask somebody if you could buy them a cup of coffee, get together, have lunch, and seek their advice. The other common trait with really successful people, I never personally felt this way, but I've seen it in others, they love to talk about themselves. So, just saying. So you get them to open up, they tell you what they've learned, and that's what you want to know. You want to know what they've learned that you can incorporate into your life. And that's what you want to take away. So if I have advice that I would give you today on how to find a mentor, it would just be very, very simple. Find somebody who has what you want, whether that be on a personal front, professional front, whatever. Find somebody who has something that you want, and then build a relationship with that person, because then that is what will sustain over time. And I just would say here, because I think this is really, really important to understand, and especially today in the age of Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, it's very important to understand the difference between contacts and relationships. Relationships are things that you nourish and you treasure and you cherish and you build over time based on sincere interest in another individual. Contacts are all those people that are in Facebook and LinkedIn, that some of them, I don't know about you, I've got people that I'm linked into that I really don't know that well. They're contacts. I don't necessarily have relationships with those people. So, find somebody who has something that you want. Think about asking them just for lunch, not a lifetime commitment. And then nurture that relationship over time. And I guarantee you, it's going to pay dividends and you're going to be richer for it. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you. Thank you very much.